The night was never silent on the northern front, not truly. Even when the shelling stopped and the distant thunder of artillery quieted, the wind moved restlessly through the ruined tree line like a wounded animal, carrying with it the smell of ash, pine sap, and old, unsettled earth. Soldiers of the 3rd Reconnaissance Unit had learned to fear this particular kind of quiet, not because it was peaceful, but because it meant the forest was listening. They called this region the Black Ridge, a stretch of ancient woodland untouched by towns or villages, avoided even by hunters. Rumors spread through the ranks long before the unit arrived. Whispers of people who walked into the woods and returned days later unable to speak, their lips trembling with memories they could never describe. The soldiers laughed it off at first. War had already stripped sleep from their eyes and left their dreams jagged. What harm could silence do? On their first night, the temperature dropped unnaturally fast, frost blooming on canvas tents despite it being early autumn. Sentinels posted along the perimeter reported hearing footsteps pacing just beyond the lamps, the soft crush of leaves accompanied by a cadence that matched their own breathing. When they aimed their rifles toward the noise, their lamps illuminated nothing but trunks, scored with marks older than the war itself. Lieutenant Marcus Hale, a veteran of 2 campaigns and a man not easily shaken, ordered double watch but dismissed the sounds as forest echo. Still, there was something restless in his eyes as he examined the tree line, like he knew the woods were holding their breath. By the 4th night, the voices began. Private Elias Carr was the first. He staggered into camp pale and shaking, swearing he'd heard someone creeping behind him during patrol. But when he spun around, rifle leveled, he found himself staring into the dark. And then, from somewhere just out of lamp range, he heard his own voice whisper his name. Not shouted, not mimicked, but whispered so softly and intimately it felt like breath against his ear. The other men ignored him, chalking it up to exhaustion. But when the 2nd soldier, Corporal Drexler, reported the same phenomenon, his own voice asking questions he had never dared say aloud, concern began to spread like frostbite. Each night grew heavier. The whispers multiplied, always repeating the same chilling refrain, "Come back, you forgot something." Some men claimed the voice asked them to step deeper into the forest, promising to reveal what they'd lost. And what terrified them most wasn't the sound of the voice, but how perfectly it mirrored their tone, their breathing quiver, their childhood cadence. It was like a recording played by something ancient and curious, something that didn't quite understand how human language worked. Hale finally ordered a scouting party to track the source. 5 soldiers vanished within an hour. When only one returned, he was found standing at the edge of camp staring blankly, mud up to his knees. He muttered the same sentence on repeat. "We were never alone, but we thought we were." His eyes were unfocused, his voice hollow. No matter how fiercely the medic shook him, he never blinked. His identity tags were missing, torn from his neck as if taken by invisible hands. As fear gripped the camp, the men sought answers. The local interpreter they'd hired, an elderly man with deep-set eyes, finally spoke. He told them of a legend older than the country itself, the Hollow Echoes. Spirits tied to the roots of ancient forests, guardians of memory. They were said to lure travelers by mimicking their voices, pulling them toward places where the boundaries between thought and matter dissolved. Once you stepped into their territory, you left pieces of yourself behind. The interpreter warned that the Hollow Echoes did not kill, they harvested identity. Once you listened too long, you would forget the sound of your own voice forever. The unit's remaining radios began to malfunction, not suddenly, softly, subtly. Messages repeated with their own voices layered underneath, echoing milliseconds behind, like a shadow falling out of sync. Even recorded transmissions warped with personal secrets no one else could know. Hale realized then that the forest wasn't listening, it was learning. Every breath, every heartbeat fed something hidden beneath the soil. The men began to fear the silence more than the gunfire. At least gunfire meant something human was on the other end. By the 12th night, half the unit was gone. Some vanished during patrol, others found silently walking into the trees, dazed, following whispers only they could hear. Those who remained stuffed wax into their ears, but in the deepest hours, the whispers vibrated through bone, bypassing flesh.